First off, the paradigm shift. Anytime someone goes to take a platform, whether they're getting on a stage, they're gonna share what they have on social media, they go to sell whatever it is that they've created. Here's one of the biggest concerns that people always have. I don't wanna look like I'm just bragging. I don't wanna just like talk about myself, look how smart I am, look how awesome I am. In fact, how many of you has that concern right there stopped you from stepping out and speaking up? Sure, you're like, I don't know if I necessarily wanna go out and do this. Well, let me help you change this mindset right here and now. It's not about you. It's not. If you, anytime you get a microphone, treat that as an opportunity to tell everyone about you, you are missing the point. It is about your audience, your customers, your followers, those you are speaking to, those that need what you have. And unfortunately, what most people do is the minute they go to put themselves out there, they feel that they need to be the hero. And if you're putting yourself out there to be the hero, that's the fastest way to get people to not like you all that much. Your goal is to connect. So rather than focusing on you, focus on your audience. Here are the questions you should ask. Who is my audience? Okay? Who are they? What do they look like? What are they feeling? What problems are they facing? What do they want? What are they looking for? And how do you want to make them feel? Right? If you've got a message for a group of people, what is it that you're trying to do for them? And where do you ultimately want to lead them to go? That shift is the shift that most people never make. And if you're wondering why you're just struggling connecting with people, my advice, stop talking about yourself. Start listening, start understanding, and start finding solutions to the problems that people are truly facing. And here's the other tip I'll give you. You don't need to connect with everyone in the world. You don't have to have a message or a product that's going to click with absolutely everybody. Some of you in the room today, might not connect with me, that's okay. But I know there's about 75% of you that are. And guess what? The 75%, that's who I'm talking to. Now, once you understand your role, that you are the guide, you're not the hero, well now, what do you have to offer? If you are gonna make it now about, well, what do I say and how do I position myself, here's the test that you should run yourself through. I'm gonna walk you through the 6 Ps. When Andrew showed me this, it changed the way I opened my mouth. It changed the way I shared what I had to offer. This structure, this framework is something that every single one of you, no matter what you do, should go home tomorrow. And if you cannot answer these questions clearly, you have work to do. The first P, okay? You need to understand the problem, okay? So in front of a group or a room, whatever it might be, what is the problem that most people are facing? Can you get everyone to buy off on that? That, hey, we're all facing the same thing and we're looking for this to be solved. Why? Because you need to understand the pain. If there is a problem in the room, how is that making people feel? What's the result of that? What's the impact, right? And those 2 things right there are always the focus. If you can dial in those 2 things, all of a sudden now, you'll start to connect with your audience. And this then is what allows you to have what we call the power. Your power is what is it that allows you to be able to speak to that problem? What is it that allows you to understand that pain so well? Because there's something pretty incredible that happens when you're on a stage and you're talking about the problem and the pain, and people are out there going, is he inside my brain? Like, how does he know that's what I'm facing? Man, they're talking directly to me. I know there's 3,000 people in the room, but this is for me. When you get to that point, boom, that's when we've got it. So you understand the problem, the pain, the power, and then if you really want to understand your audience, you need to understand what the pushback is. What resistance do people have? right? Maybe they know what the solution to their problem is, but they're not doing it. Why? What are the obstacles? What are the concerns? How do you speak directly to that? If you know what people's concerns are and you address it before they even bring it up, man, that person has superpower. Now next, from that point, you then have to provide a plan. What are the steps? What can they do? Great, I get up here and talk for a little bit, but if I don't give you anything to do from this, all I've done is a fun song and dance. If you are the guide and you understand what the problem is, and you understand why people are so desperate to have that problem solved, show them the path to get to where you are or where people want to try to get. And then lastly, the payoff. Now this is important. One, you need to understand anytime you open your mouth, like, what's your goal? What are you looking to do? Why are you doing that in the first place? The more you understand that, it actually allows you when you finish to be able to go, was that a victory or not? But also, what's the payoff for your audience? Okay, if they can solve that problem, if they overcome that pain, like, where are they ultimately going to end up? Now, folks, how many of you feel you could benefit from getting a whole lot more clear about those 6 P's right there? Can you raise your hands? Raise them high for me if you feel that. All right. Because here's what happens. We get so excited about an idea or a product or your business, and we just go out there and we just start sharing it. But we're just saying a lot of things that don't necessarily connect in the way they should. You have to go through the effort, the time. You have to go through that refiner's fire to get so clear about your messaging. And man, that is what makes you confident. When people ask me, how do you get on stage and like not freak out and feel confident? If you know those 6 P's and you understand that it's not about you, it's about them, man, your nerves go way down. Because I realize y'all are trying to do something, I'm just here to help. Now, let's go to this last part here, the point. Okay, what is the point of all this, right? And especially if you go to social media, right? And if you're scrolling through a lot of posts that people out there are making, and you ask yourself, like, well, what was the point of that? Most people never stop and ask that question. We're just, we're out there talking because we're supposed to talk. Same thing, you get on a stage like this, what's the point? Well, some of the things I get asked all the time. Do you think the goal of being on a stage like this is to entertain, yes or no? No. Entertainment really doesn't do us all that much good. Y'all can watch Netflix at home. Is the goal to excite? Is the goal just to get you pumped up and fired up and leave with all this energy? No. In fact, if all you do is just go to conventions and meetings and events like this and just have a day's worth of caffeine, and then you go back the next day to exactly what you're doing, it did 0 good. And lastly, this is the biggest one I hear. I ask people, well, why are you on stage? Why are you speaking? And they say, well, my goal is just to provide value. How many of you ever thought that before? I'll tell you right now, that's not the goal. If your goal is just to provide value, how are you any different than everybody else? If you want value, go to YouTube. You'll find information there. Do a YouTube search. YouTube University, you can find all of this now. Value does not cut it in 2024. The people that are really getting to the next level and having the type of impact that they want to have and scaling in the way that they dream of is when they can do this, is when they can tell a story in a way that connects with the audience and in a way that leads to action. That action piece is the most important part. And if you don't get that, then folks, you're missing the boat, right? Now, how many of you felt stuck before? Like, man, I'm just out there sharing it, I'm doing it, I'm providing all this value. Every time I put something out there, I get on stage, everyone tells me, thank you so much, you did such a good job, I appreciated that. But then you're so frustrated because they didn't do anything. Have any of you felt that before? You're like, yeah, you liked my post, or you cheered for me, or you gave me a pat on the back. But that wasn't my goal. My goal was to help you get from point A to point B. And if I, as a communicator, if I, as an expert, as an entrepreneur, can't help you to take those steps, I've missed the point. Now, folks, I share this with you because I've been there. I spent 7 to 8 years of my career, starting at 21 years old. What was I going to do when I grow up? I was going to be a speaker. But I didn't know what I was talking about. I didn't really have a plan. I didn't know exactly who I was speaking to and why they should even care in the first place. So guess what? I got years of good jobs and attaboys. But that only goes so far. It wasn't until I actually stepped back and I asked myself the hard questions. And I'll tell you what, sometimes it can be a little difficult to look yourself in the mirror and go, well, what is the point of all this? Why am I doing this? What is my message? What makes me unique? And I'll tell you, when I went through this process right here, that's when it changed for me. The last 3-4 years of my career have looked completely different. Because the moment I got clear about who I was talking to, I've now spoken in 47 states, 8 different countries. I built 4 different businesses based on the solutions I recognized. And coming out this summer, I've got a book coming out. I'll tell you, thank you. I appreciate it. I say that because, man, when I told my grandpa I'm going to be on stages like that, I didn't know what it would take to get to the point to realize, no, it wasn't about me. It was about who I could help, who I was speaking to. And I'll tell you what, I've worked closely with Andrew now for the last several years. I spoke for Andrew years ago and have been able to go through this process and get to the point where I'm just not entertaining anymore. I'm just not providing value anymore. I understand that there are people out there that are trying to share a message, product, or service with the world, and they're just looking to know how to do it.